Welcome back, degenerates, to Place Your Bets. I'm Tyler James. He's the one and only Eric Hansen. We cover Notre Dame football, recruiting, and more for InsideNDSports.com on the Rivals Network. And we like to make prop bets and predictions about Notre Dame football, and we just so happen to get one last time to do so for the 2024 season. Our season-long competition on the Inside Lounge rewards the first-place subscriber with a free 12-month extension of their subscription, and second place gets 6 free months. There's a thread over on the Insider Lounge where you can submit your picks, and it is listed in the video description below. Notre Dame advanced to the national championship with a win over Penn State, but our Penn State prop bets were a bit of a disaster for most of our subscribers. Nearly two-thirds of them failed to get more than one of the 5 prop bets, but kudos to JBM for nailing all 5. Eric, both you and I only managed to get one correct, but all can be redeemed this week. Jimmy J. One.
That's kind of like going to the dentist when we do this.
Yeah, it's just
you guys need to
how bad
floss
do we look?
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Jimmy J1 enters the week with a 2-point lead in the season standings ahead of Rockney 93, and Rover 219 and Kurt VI 95 are tied in third with 47 correct prop bets this season. I have 44. Eric has 43. Neither of us are going to win, but we can certainly beat each other. How are you feeling going into this, Eric?
Not very confident at all, but it's kind of like when I play my grandkids at air hockey. I have not played any of them right-handed, and so that day will come. So I'm just kind of wanting you to feel good about yourself. That's where we are right now.
All right, well, let's get into our prop bets for Notre Dame, Ohio State in this national championship game.
Okay.
First one I have for us is over under 13.5 rushes for Notre Dame quarterback Riley Leonard.
Yeah, that's getting into the red area of the tachometer, and yet this is the last game of his college career. And if it needs to be that, you have that flexibility. There is no tomorrow. And I think this is a game that's going to require that. And so I'm going to go over.
Yeah, I'm going over as well. He's averaging 11 on the season. That has only increased in the playoff where he's averaging 14.3 after having 18 against Penn State last week. So that number certainly that increased a little bit in the Penn State game because of some sacks, and which I think Ohio State will manage to get a couple sacks against Notre Dame as well. But most importantly, I expect Leonard to try to make plays with his legs, both by design and on scrambles. So I'm going over as well. Next one, over under 5.5 receptions for Ohio State wide receiver Jeremiah Smith.
When we have the gaps when I'm at home and you're in a hotel, we know it's your fault, your hotel Wi-Fi. We won't know on this broadcast whose fault it is, but I've been really nice to the people at the front desk. That's all I can say. Over under receptions for Jeremiah Smith. You look at the teams that gave him the most problems, and I think Notre Dame profiles as that kind of team. This is going to be dependent a lot on Notre Dame's pass rush. It's also going to be dependent on how much Ohio State spreads things around, because they really do. I mean, Leonard Moore, if he ends up on Jeremiah Smith, and they may push him to the field side and get a matchup with Christian Gray, but if it's Leonard Moore and Jeremiah Smith, I'm willing to go under, and I'm willing to go under no matter who it is. I just think Ohio State will spread it around more.
All right, I'm going with over. Smith averages 4.7 this season. Then he had 13 in the first 2 games of the playoff for Ohio State before being limited to 1 against Texas. I just think Ohio State's going to try to force feed him with short throws and open some things up after how the offense was a little bit limited because he wasn't able to get loose against Texas. And I don't think Notre Dame's going to be as maybe extreme in trying to double cover or bracket Jeremiah Smith as Texas was. So I'm going to take the over and think that he gets some catches, but maybe not the big play catches that you're the most afraid of as a Notre Dame fan. All right, next one. Will any player score multiple touchdowns?
And I don't have to name the player. I can just say yes or no.
No, you don't have to name the player.
I'll say yes.
All right. I'm going with no. I just don't think it's going to be an extremely high-scoring game. So that's hard. Makes it harder to count Perhaps if I were to pick someone, maybe Jeremiah Love or Riley Leonard, getting in with some rushing touchdowns, but I wouldn't pick that with confidence. So I'm going with no.
Okay.
All right, next one. Over under 5.5 tackles for Notre Dame linebacker Jack Kiser.
I went back and forth with this one. Again, I think Notre Dame's going to be spread around. I don't know that Kiser's going to be on G. Scott, their tight end, very much, or the backs. But you know what? Kiser's played, a record 162 games for Notre Dame. He's going to go out with a bang, so I'm going to say over.
Yeah, I'm
using
going over as well.
Science to do these isn't working for me, so I have to go with instinct and sentiment.
Though this number's right at his average for the season. He's been even more active in the last 4 games with an average that's slightly above 7. And even against USC, which is a team that did spread the ball a lot, I think he had 8 tackles in that game. So I think he's going to get tackles in a number of ways, so I'm going to go over. All right, next one. Over under 60.5 rushing yards for Ohio State running back TreVeyon Henderson.
Well, if he has a big run like he did against Notre Dame last year, he'll cash all that in one run. But I don't think that's going to happen. And I think, again, with just so many different weapons, both in the running game and in the passing game, I'm going to go under on this, just guessing.
I'm going over. This is one of my biggest concerns for Notre Dame going into the game. I don't think it can afford to let Henderson break big plays in the running game, and I think that's going to be hard to do with so much concern about Ohio State's passing attack. He sort of preposterously averaged 7 yards per carry against Texas, but only received 6 carries. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think Ohio State won't make that mistake in this game and will give him more opportunities. So I'm gonna give him the over on this one. All right, next one for fun. Will Tyler Buckner get any screen time on the TV broadcast? And not just like, oh, there's Tyler in the background.
No, he'll get screen time, and it'll be involved in my next answer.
All right, okay. No spoilers. I'm going to say yes. Maybe some highlights from the 2022 game. Maybe they show him doing signs on the sideline, and maybe, barring a Notre Dame victory, they show both him and Jordan Faison as 2-sport national champions. All right, last one. Our final score prediction for Notre Dame, Ohio State. I know you've been getting hounded for this for days, Eric.
Yeah, well, it's the funny thing is they more want to know who I'm rooting for than who I'm predicting. I think that I don't know why that's more important because if I want to know who I was predicting, then I'd run to my bookie and pick the opposite thing. But I've given this a lot of thought, and I've told people I'm rooting for caffeine because I want to be able to stay up all night and give you guys the best coverage from the biggest game and the coolest experience, and us tell the story the right way. And that's really how I feel. But as far as picking the score, I picked a historic score, and I picked a very detailed way that they're going to get there. I am picking Notre Dame 31, Ohio State 30 in overtime. And here's how it's going down. Ohio State will get the ball first in overtime, score, and kick the extra point. I can't get my verbs right. The caffeine is not working today. Then Notre Dame gets the ball, scores, and instead of waiting for the second time to go for 2, Marcus says, you know what? Question everything. We're going for 2. And Tyler Buckner scores the 2-point conversion. The guy that started at quarterback in Marcus's first regular season game scores the 2-point conversion that gives Notre Dame the national championship. How's that for a story?
That sounds like a good one. It sounds like you've pre-written that one, so get a head start on it.
I haven't pre-written anything. You know what our work volume's been like.
Yeah, I know. Notre Dame fans aren't going to like this, but I just can't talk myself into a Notre Dame victory because the path seems too narrow to me. So I have Ohio State 21, Notre Dame 20. I think Ohio State just has more ways it can win this game, even if it doesn't play its best game. I do think it's going to be a difficult one, hence the 1 point margin there. But I'm taking the Buckeyes this week. But I certainly would not be shocked if Notre Dame pulls it off, because Notre Dame has been able to do what it wants to in terms of like following a script and making those things happen that it needs to happen to win these kinds of games this season. But I think Notre Dame ends up falling one game short, and according to my prediction, 1 point short, which would probably be even more difficult to bear. But we'll see how it goes. We appreciate everyone tuning in. Check out InsideNDSports.com for all of our pregame and postgame coverage.